Hey everybody, you're probably here because, well, you clicked the video. So you want to know what's the most medical conditions any human being has ever had, as far as we know? Well, the question's kind of difficult to answer, but I've done my Google research and I couldn't find anyone with more than 5 illnesses for some reason, at least at any one given time, and people didn't seem to show any list for what they have had throughout their life. So the first thing we gotta do to establish what qualifies, we of course have to separate it from the stigma of diseases. Something like HIV/AIDS is not a medical condition, it's actually a disease, but what that leads to, having no immune system, could perhaps be called a medical condition, but seeing as it's caused by a virus, I'm gonna call it a sickness or a disease, and not a medical condition. A medical condition is more like arthritis, pollen allergy, any allergy really, diabetes, things that are part of your body either acquired throughout your life or that you're born with. These things are medical conditions, I think. Even being transgender is technically a medical condition by my logic, I suppose. Which, I don't know, I guess it makes sense to me, maybe not to you. So, yeah, let's get on with the 2 types of records that I've been able to set personally way back when my life was terrible, so brace yourself. Because upon my 20th birthday, which was right around the time I became disabled, I suffered from 10 medical conditions at the same time. And on my 22nd birthday, I had suffered from 15 medical conditions in total, at least out of the ones that I know of, and I do believe that's a pretty accurate number. So we can take the 10 I had at the same time, for instance. What were they? Bechdrev's disease, rainbow hin inflammation, which is also known as iridocyclitis, or just an eye inflammation, and Bechdrev's disease is an inflammatory illness of the skeletal system, or the entire skeleton in my case, plus some of my muscles and some patches of my skin, and it sucks. Asperger syndrome, which I think is called autism nowadays, they've grouped them together. Then there is a sleeping problem. We have never been able to figure out what sleeping problem I have, because it's not, what's it called again? Insomnia? It's not insomnia, but it's something, it's been there, but it could be the cause of another illness, we don't know. Then there's an eating disorder, which leans towards being anorexian, because back when I self-diagnosed this, you had anorexia and you had bulimia, and then nothing else. Like, those were the 2 eating disorders that existed, and I didn't fit into either category. But I found something called EDNOS, which is eating disorder not otherwise specified. So it makes sense that that's kind of my eating disorder, because, well, it's an eating disorder, although no name for it exists yet, and doctors confirm they do have an eating disorder, they just don't know what to call it. The 6th one was probably melancholic depression, or melancholia. Melancholy? Is that what it's called? Suicidal thoughts and tendencies. It was terrible. I still suffered from a great deal of fatigue. I still had seizures every day, at least 6 hours during that time. It was terrible. And I also had, where did the 10th one go? Maybe I actually had 9, because I counted anxiety and social anxiety at the same time back then. I'll have to double check. Bechdrev's, rainbow hin, Asperger, sleeping problem, eating problem, depression or melancholic depression, suicidal thoughts, fatigue, seizures, anxiety. I guess I skipped one, but yeah, that's 10. That's 10 at the same time, yep. But I guess I have to count the 3rd time to be sure. Bechdrev's disease, iridocyclitis, Asperger syndrome, sleeping problem, eating problem, depression, suicidal thoughts, fatigue, seizures, anxiety. Yeah. Yeah, it's 10. Duh. I don't know which one I skipped on the first one, or if I just didn't move a finger. But yeah, I remember very clearly having those 10, and I made some videos back then, and they're private now because I don't like them. I was very negative. I had a pizza face because shit was bad. But what are the other 5? So I've had 15 in total. Well, I kind of read through the list kind of out of order because I never structured it from what I had at the same time. But the other 5 should be, well, depression. I said depression last time I counted, but I meant to say melancholy. But yeah, I've had depression too. I've had PTSD. I've had constipations. I've had maladaptive daydreams. Although the first thing a psychologist told me was that it was a schizophrenian childhood. But maladaptive daydreams sounds way more accurate. And lastly, cataracts. So yeah, cataracts. Huh. So I guess Bechdrev's disease, iridocyclitis, Asperger's syndrome, a sleeping problem, Ed knows for the eating problem, depression, suicidal thoughts, melancholy, also known as melancholic depression, which I had at a separate time than the depression itself. They were 2 different stages of my life. Fatigue, seizures, anxiety, PTSD, which also was at a different time than the anxiety, constipations, and maladaptive daydreams, cataracts. And I can explain every single one, and I can remember every single one. So despite them being self-diagnosed, I do believe genuinely that I have had all 15, and that I am accurate in self-diagnosing, I think, 8 or 9 of these. Like, 3 months into med school, who wins? Me with 3 months experience, or 2 doctors with over 60 years under their belt combined? Turns out I win, because I have diagnosed more issues than my first 2 doctors did. And that's kinda crazy. But yeah, at least I've confirmed that, hey, these illnesses are there, so yeah, a doctor has at least agreed that they are there, even if we didn't have time to diagnose some of them before I overcame them. But the good news is I'm actually down now, so I think I have 6 of them, 6 or 7. Bechdrev's disease, yup. Iridocyclitis, yup. Cataracts, yup. I'm never getting rid of that. Still kind of suffer from fatigue and seizures as well. The eating problem too, and the sleeping problem. So that's 7. But I'm kind of counting seizures and fatigue as 1 now, even though I'm not 100% sure if they are separate or the same illness. But anyway, if I have 7 right now, they have all calmed down so much that I can live a kinda normal life. I'm still disabled, sadly, which could be because I simply have too many medical conditions, and they sort of play off of each other, where one gets bad, so the next one gets bad, then the next one, and they kinda work in this wheel. And and that can make it very hard to work, and not to mention I also starved for 4 months straight, pretty much. Like, I had 800 calories a day for the first 2 months, and then the latter 2 months I had a very unreliable source of food, so some days I could eat and some days I couldn't eat at all, and other days I would have to eat like 1 meal a day. So yeah, after starving for 4 months, my body has never been the same. I'm unable to build muscle, I'm unable to lose weight. I can't work out because after like 4 to 6 weeks or so of working out 1 day a week, I become very, very sick, and if I keep going, I'll have to quit. The longest I've been able to stick to a workout program has been 3 months, and still I was really sick at the end, and I wouldn't be able to continue. But the other 3 workout programs lasted me only 2 months on average, so I know I'm still disabled, and it's probably related to a mix of having 7 medical conditions, having been through 15 in total, and also having starved for 4 months. Which, I don't know how much damage has done to my body, but luckily I'm healthy now. I'm on the 2 vitamin supplements that I need. And yeah, I'm on a stable diet, I feel great, live alone, life's good. The only thing that can improve is if I get a cat and a girlfriend and a bigger apartment. That's pretty much all. So yeah, even though I technically hold potentially 2 unofficial world records for being the world's sickest man. Nowadays, my life is awesome. And I hope that by just making this video, putting it out there, I can get it out of my mind and just move on, because I don't want to be stuck in my past anymore. I want to be done with the past, move into the future, and be happy. You know? I want to be myself again. So, let's break the chains of the past, move on to the future. So yeah, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Bye bye!